you won't be able to hear it in the background, but my parents have all of the windows of the house opened right now because the weather is so gorgeous, and you just hear birds, nature, and you just smell this crisp air that is so special. I never get that in the city when I have my windows open. Oh, I forgot to put on sunscreen. I think I'm just gonna have to wear a hat. We are in my childhood bedroom right now, and this back gallery wall, I think I did it probably 13 years ago. I was quite young. It definitely reads as younger. Got those like motivational quotes on the wall, and I'm just so over that. I don't like looking at that anymore when I come back. And although I think there is some niceness in preserving your childhood bedroom, or in this case I guess more of my preteen bedroom, I also want to be able to enjoy the space when I'm here and have it be a little bit more of a relaxing de-stress area, because this is like the area in this home that is still like mine. I know I mentioned it previously in a video, but I do want to like slowly start tackling this room a bit and be on the lookout for pieces that I love, because as I mentioned in my apartment updates video, I do think it's one of those things when it comes to decor that slower is better than faster. It's more of an opportunity. It welcomes in an opportunity for you to actually bring in pieces that you love and that you're not going to get sick of. So I need to figure out something to do with this wall. Part of me thinks I need to bring back a mirror there, but then again, I haven't had a mirror there in a really long time, and when I'm vlogging, it's kind of annoying to have a mirror there. So I don't know, something needs to go there. I need to get new artwork for above my bed. I need new artwork in general for this room. I think in a beautiful ideal world, it'd be great to add a carpet to this bedroom as well, but that's probably one of the lower priority tasks. You saw me pack this thing in my last video, and I just want to shout it out again because I just adore it so much. It makes going back and forth so easy between home and the city. I guess home and home. I always feel like I have two homes. It's funny because whenever I'm here, I always just really enjoy it. I have so much family and friends here that it does feel like sometimes that part of my life is back home and some part of my life is in Toronto, and it's weird to know that I love both of those lives so much, but it does feel sometimes like I've got two different lives going on. And there are moments where I get frustrated in that, because obviously it'd be nice to just know that life is happening in one spot, but I can also spin it on my head and say, oh, how cool is it that there are like two areas where I feel so at home. It just amuses me because these areas are so different. They are not similar in many ways at all. I think ultimately the thing about the city that always draws me to it is the physicality of city living, the constant like opportunity in city living. You just always can do something. There's never something not to do, and it's beautiful in the middle of the week that I can go to like a show, a production, a concert, and it take me no time at all to get home. I don't have to specifically plan this big excursion. I love that element, and I just love how things are meant for walkers, so you just naturally get steps. I feel like the physicality of the city is so energizing. But then again, I also think there's something so quaint about not living in the city and not having to deal with people all the time and being able to hear birds constantly outside your window. But more importantly, that so many people that I love are here is what always is a huge draw. I don't know, it's one of those weird dilemmas that I feel like becomes increasingly something I think about as I'm getting older, because people start asking you, you know, where do you think you're gonna end up? Like, where do you wanna live? Where do you wanna put roots down? I don't know. And also there are other factors that are involved in that, other considerations. It's not easy. I don't know if this is like relatable at all though to anybody, because I know like it's a little bit of a unique situation. Ultimately, I sometimes just feel like I just wanna be Hannah Montana. I want the best of both worlds, you know? Why do I have to choose? Ooh, I am like speeding through this makeup. Good for me. This mirror is one of those ones where this side of the mirror is normal and this one is a zoom. Nobody should ever see their face that close up. Let me just say that out of curiosity. Oh, yeah, like you just see every pore. I have no business seeing that. Okay, I think I'm gonna touch up my hair, maybe change, we'll see, but it's always weird to vlog here in my childhood bedroom, because I did at one point so many videos here in this room, and I remember specifically talking a lot about the move to the city for university, so it's just wild. That was like 5-6 years ago. Ugh. Ugh. We are currently in my parents' library that houses a lot of my old books, some books that I value so much. You can't see it, but off frame, the City of Bones trilogy and all of the original covers are there. Another original cover I have is the first hardcover edition of A Court of Thorns and Roses, because I know this book series is all over the internet, but I read it when it first came out. And imagine, if you've read the series, which a lot of people have at this point, imagine having to wait a year between book 1 and 2. And then being absolutely shook when book 2 took that turn. Okay, imagine that. I lived through that, so it just makes me laugh when I see people getting into it now and people ask me, have you read ACOTAR? And I'm like, yeah, I've been there. I was there before it was cool. The reason I'm here is because I have a lot of crochet updates to give you, even though the time between me filming that last clip of a crochet update and the last vlog was like 7 days ago. I don't know what's happened, what's washed over me, but I've crocheted like I've never crocheted before. The first being that I finished. Yes, I did finish the daisy blanket, and oh my gosh, how gorgeous is it? I'm gonna try and get a better clip of it so that you can see its full beauty. Is it perfect? No, but I finished it. I am so proud of myself for doing this project. It was such a feat. I ended up getting it in my head that I wanted to give it to my mom for Mother's Day. So I have spent, or I did spend since that last clip, like I think 3 nights in a row crocheting from 10 p.m. to 3 in the morning, because obviously I was finishing the blanket here at my parents' place and I didn't want her to know that I was that close to finishing. She knew I was making a blanket and I was in the process of weaving ends, but she didn't think or know that we were anywhere close to a blanket. Realistically, we weren't, because I watched back while editing that clip from last vlog. Oh, I don't think it'll be a huge deal to put all these squares together.
Joining all of these together shouldn't be too difficult of a task.
It was indeed. It was a lot harder of a task than anticipated, time consuming. Then I had to do a border around the whole thing. It was a mess. And honestly, by the end of finishing this blanket 3 a.m. on Mother's Day, may I add, I really got it to the last second. I was done. It was also just so special to give something of this, I guess, significance to my mom, and to give it a home immediately to someone who I know is just gonna like treasure this. But yeah, so now it's done. I do find it hilarious that I finished a blanket when today it's gonna be about 30 degrees for the first time in 2024. And yeah, I'm not gonna be using this anytime soon, at least, but it'll be a nice piece of decor. If the blanket wasn't enough, I've also made tons of cute plushies this week. You're gonna find them so cute, or at least I find them so cute, so I'm sharing them. My family is growing and I have a lot of younger cousins. So one of these cousins at the dinner table the other day was like, Caitlin, I really want you to make a Harry Potter crochet for me, because she's really into Harry Potter right now, like full on wearing all the clothes, having a Hermione Granger moment. It's adorable. So I asked her, like, okay, like what do you want me to do? And she requested Voldemort. So you might be thinking, oh my goodness, Caitlin, you made a crochet Voldemort. Absolutely not. I said, reconsider that idea, because I have no idea how I'm gonna create a Voldemort. So instead I suggested Hedwig and she agreed, and now I have a crocheted owl to give her. Oh my goodness, a crocheted Hedwig. Sorry, let me just be very clear. This on its own is adorable, but I also wanted to give it a little bit more of like that Harry Potter tie-in by crocheting her a little mini Gryffindor scarf. I did not use a pattern for this. I kind of just figured it out myself. It's so not perfect, but I kind of think it's cute because of that. It's a little rough, but it just feels like, yeah, that would be Hedwig's scarf. There you go. You can put it on like that and give it more of a festive Gryffindor look, or you can have it without. She can play around with it. I just think it's adorable. I'm so excited to give it to her because she's been asking me when it's going to be done. But yeah, giving it to someone that you know is going to just treasure it is always really sweet. So I hope she likes the final result. At minimum, it was a great learning experience for me. Because I had the cream yarn for the owl, I decided to also make a spring chicken with a little bit of pink hair. It's the same chicken pattern that I've used before, and I'll have a link to that pattern and all the patterns that I've been using. You can buy them on Etsy and they're pretty inexpensive, all really easy to follow. But the chicken one is like super easy. This is the most beginner friendly project I think I've done today or this week. And I just love like the fact that once you nail down a certain pattern, you can kind of just play around with the different colorings. Just adorable in my opinion. I think this is going to go to another little cousin. Just a quick note though, in case there is anyone that crochets that doesn't know this already, if you're giving projects to kids, you really want to be careful that there's nothing that they can choke on. So a project like this you wouldn't want to give to a really young kid because there's these safety eyes, and if you really pull at them they could potentially come off and it's a choking hazard. So in that case you want to do crocheted eyes like the chicken here. And then again I was left with white yarn, just the littlest bit. So I'm like, what can I make that can use this up? Because I hate having just a little tiny amount of yarn left. Well, the creator of the chicken pattern, Oak and Marlowe, I think is her name on Etsy, also has other patterns, and there's one I've been eyeing that she recently came out with, and it's a bee one. Oh, look at that. There's little legs, and there's little antennas, and some wings, and a plump little bum. The irony is that I absolutely am petrified of bees, but this one can't sting me, so we love her. I know it might not look it, but this one was even harder to me than the owl, mostly because of the color changes. And again, this is not a perfect one. I kind of love the fact that I can see my areas I need to improve on in my crocheting in my projects. Like this one, you can tell that the color changes aren't seamless, so I just need to really focus on learning that. I always kind of glaze over it, so that's something I can work on. But this is a great project because it got to use the last little bits of that white yarn, or the cream yarn I should say, but it also used the black and the yellow that I use in the chickens, but I tend to not use a lot of in the chickens because look, it's just a tiny amount. But this, the whole project is those colors. So it's great to find complementary projects that you can use similar yarns in different quantities so that you end up using the stuff that you have. But yeah, these are my little friends that I created this week. Now I'm gonna get these all ready to go so that once it's time to gift them, they are ready for the new families. This spring and summer, my main goal is to add some new tops and dresses to my rotation. Unfortunately, I wasn't successful on this shopping trip for a variety of reasons. Like this top was cute, but it definitely was too big, so I would have had to size down. And I'm unsure if this is just too trendy of a look. I feel like everyone's got the vest look going down right now. I did really like this dress at the Bay. It's from the Guest line, but it's a weird dress that looks both formal and not formal. It's a denim dress, so that gives it a non-formal look, but the length of it just screamed I'm going to a fancy occasion, so I don't really know where I'd feel comfortable wearing this dress. I didn't end up committing to anything at the Gap today, but I do feel like I'm going to keep a closer eye at the Gap's offerings because there were some things that surprised me. I definitely think the brown and black dress is a better pattern for me than the white one, but this sweater is what I would imagine wearing to a bonfire with shorts on a nice summer night. I love it. I'm trying to stay very appreciative over the fact that we are having so many sunny days because it is just such a gift to enjoy consistent sunlight when you've been going through periods of lots of cloudiness. I shouldn't let sunlight and the weather have so much control over my emotions, I know, but it definitely does. So I just want to appreciate the fact that we're in a good season right now. You can feel summer truly in the air these days. Which, on the topic of summer, the book that I just finished reading called This Summer Will Be Different by Carly Fortune was such a cute one. And the reason I particularly like Carly Fortune, I read her first book, Every Summer After, I believe it's called. I didn't end up reading the second one because I had heard a lot of conflicting POVs on the second, so for some reason I wasn't compelled to read it. I might have to go back and give it a go though, because I was reminded while reading This Summer Will Be Different, which is a book based primarily in PEI but is also partly taking place in Toronto, that one of the reasons I love Carly Fortune so much is that she puts so much detail into talking about Toronto. She talks about Toronto with such specificity, which I have never encountered in any other book that I've read, and I've read my fair share of books. Usually if Toronto gets a shout out or the characters are in Toronto, the CN Tower is inevitably getting mentioned, which is fine because it's iconic for Toronto, but she specifically calls out streets and neighborhoods and locations to buildings that I know and I've been to and I'm familiar with, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe she's talking about this, because someone who doesn't live in Toronto might just give it a second glance, but it's painting such a vivid picture in my head of where these characters are. Like one part of the story, they talk about the Gardner Museum, which is located right across the ROM. So even the ROM would have been a really specific call out, but to call out the Gardner Museum, which is not as popular as the ROM when you think of museums in Toronto, that's cool. She talked about Queen Street West. I think there was a mention of Leslieville. Like I ended up marking up with my pen on my kobo so many different references. I really enjoyed that myself just because I am a Torontonian, so I found that really cool, and it makes me want to go to that second book even more because I think that one is primarily located or based in Toronto. And the first one I think has Toronto references, but more is about Muskoka, so just Ontario locations in general. The romance in this one is between two characters who have this on again, off again situationship. Things are a little complicated because he is her best friend's brother and they're technically not supposed to be seeing each other, but they still do, they can't resist. There's a lot of past and present back and forth scenes, which I always find really cool when authors decide to take that approach, because you are getting to see the puzzle pieces come together in a way that the characters don't, because the characters have lived the life chronologically. Like, they don't get the back and forthness. They don't know where they're going when we're talking about their past, if that makes sense. Like, it's such a unique perspective that only you as a reader could get. The characters couldn't get that same perspective. So I think that's fascinating when authors play with that with time. I'm in my lighthearted reading era when it comes to fiction, and I gotta say, this is the first official book that I read completely with my kobo and the pen stitch. I really did like the annotating aspect to it. I don't know though if I'm a big button fan of changing pages with buttons. Thankfully you are able to just tap and turn the page, but I don't know. A lot of people love buttons. This isn't just for kobo, but also the Kindle Aura. It's not Aura. Oasis. The Kindle Oasis also has buttons. I know people love buttons. I don't think I get it, but we'll try reading a few more books like that just to see if maybe I'm missing something. But the annotating was a lot of fun with this, and obviously I did a lot of it because there kept being references. I was like, oh, I've been there. I know that place. Ooh, I know that, and that just gets me excited as a reader. I gotta figure out my next book to read, because I think this afternoon is a good afternoon for having a reading session outdoors, lounging on a nice patio deck, letting the sun beam on you. You need to get refreshments because it's so hot, but you're just savoring all the birds chirping, the sun and all that goodness. Like, I have to make sure I make a point of taking advantage of it. So that's my main to-do list item for the day. And isn't that just a beautiful place to be in when that's your main to-do list item? Gorgina. Anyways, there we go. I'll have that book linked below as well, and the first book in case you're interested in that one. Up we go. Ooh.
Open air, side by side we sway there in all the colors